my video. Today what I'm talking about is that I have been healed by God, and I can't wait to tell you my story. To look back at one of my old videos at the very beginning when I said my medical journey. I talked about what had been happening with my eye. I've had a lot happen since then, so I'm just going to give you a whole rundown of that. But if you just want to know the short and sweet story, is that I was losing my vision and now I can see. So praise be to Jesus. It is the only way that this has happened, is from the grace of God. It's amazing. Okay, so here's the story. So 15 months ago, I started noticing my eyes were doing kind of poorly. I was just like having a little bit of trouble seeing, and I'm like, okay, it wasn't major. It was just like I was having trouble seeing the letters when I was trying to reading, and I'm like, okay, just probably need an updated prescription of my contacts. No big deal. I had a new eye appointment in a couple days. I'll just go to that, get my new contacts, and I'll be good to go. Go in there, and he's like, no, you need to go to the retinal specialist immediately, emergency. And I'm like, oh no, what has happened? So the next day I actually got into the retinal specialist. They did all kinds of scans and tests, and they told me that it was bad. It was myopic choroidal neovascularization, which is where my eye was starting to have fluid, which was causing scar tissue, which was causing vision loss. The bad thing is, it does not have a cure. You can't get back any of that. Once it's scarred, it is scarred forever. And so no vision, any vision loss you had, you will not retain it. You will not get any better. And the only treatment you have is injections into the eye to stop the progression. So that's bad. And the frequency of the injections was going to have to be every 28 days. And this is looking at injections for the rest of my life. Keep in mind, I'm 30. Most people who have these kind of issues are like 60, 70, 80, because it's not macular degeneration. That is very common. Everyone has that. This is very not common. 3% of the world have it, mostly people in Japan. So it just is not that common. So start my treatment. So I'm like, well, what's bad is that I am terrified of needles. I avoid the flu shot because I'm scared of needles. And I start crying when I get my blood drawn. It is just like the worst case I could think of. But when they say you go blind or take injections, you got to take injections. You know, you just got to do what you got to do. So I start the process. So I start getting an injection every month. At 28 days. I decided to get a second opinion because I'm like, well, what's it gonna hurt? So I get a second opinion. He calls it something different. He calls it a hiptospot, but he said it's the same thing, same treatment, same prognosis. You know, it's the best chance you got, is what he would say. He's definitely a straight shooter. So during that time, I really went through a bitter stage in my life. Like, why did you choose me, this God? Everything was going so good in my life. Why did this happen? I have 2 little girls. Like, what am I gonna do if I go blind? Like, or why do I have to have these injections? Why is this happening to me? So I was really struggling with it because I just didn't understand, and I still don't understand like why I was chosen for that. But I have a better view of it now. But it was just I was so sad, so confused, so mad at God. And so what I would do is I just wasn't going to talk to God anymore. I was just not praying. I just was like, I'm not going to say anything bad, but I just don't want to talk because I was hurt. So after a couple of months, about 2 or 3 months, I was coming around to it, and I just started praying. I'm like, I got my second opinion, same thing. So I worked on myself, and I started praying to God, getting everybody I know to pray for me and for my healing, because there's no good outcome here. So I just had to start saying, well, we need to pray for either a miracle or some medical improvements, and there's not a lot of medical improvements happening, so let's just start praying. So had everyone in my church praying, everybody at my parents' church praying, and I was praying that I wasn't going to be bitter anymore, and that I could find a more reason, like, why am I having this, and I could maybe talk to people when I was at the doctor. Like, there's got to be a reason why this is happening. So Lord, help me find my voice and find why am I having to go through this. So luckily, you know, God has delivered me from that, and he gave me a peace, and I kept asking him to heal me, and his answer was still not now, not yet. And so I don't know if that meant I was going to get healed in a month, or healed when I was 85, or healed when I was in heaven, you know, because even one day in heaven I would be able to see. So I was just really struggling with it, but I was getting better because God was giving me the peace that I needed. And anything you ask, God will provide you. If it's now or later, he will provide it for you. Just you have to be patient and know that it's all in God's time. So then after that, I went to my pastors and had them gather around me. And so I did go to see them and had a meeting with them, and they all prayed for me and everything. And we did what it said in the Bible to do when you ask for healing. So they did everything they could like that. Then we continue on. It's about a year now from when my first original diagnosis is. I haven't had any increase in vision, but nothing bad, nothing worse. They were starting to space it out because best case scenario, you'd be able to space it out every 3 months for a shot. But that's not really what was able to go too far with that. So about my 10th shot now was on my year. And whenever we were doing my scans, they noticed my eyes was a lot worse. Not just one eye, because at this point it was just my left eye, but now both eyes. So both eyes were going bad. My vision in both was going super, super bad. This one though was not having the same, it was not having the same symptoms. So it was not presenting the same way, but it could possibly, it was still just getting worse. And so my doctor's like, I don't really know what's going on. I'm gonna send you to another specialist. So I'm going from the retinal specialist to now an inflammation retinal specialist at a lot larger city. So I had to drive about a 4-hour drive to a lot larger city to go see this new inflammation retinal specialist. By the time I get into her office, both eyes are scanning at a 20/70. And when I say 20/70, that means I cannot get a contact to fix that. It's 20/70. And my scans are looking bad with both of them. There's scars on the left, and then the right eye is looking really red and inflamed, not to the naked eye. Like, if you just looked at my eyes, you would never know. That's why it's so important. You have to pay attention to your body. But you would never even know that there was something wrong with my eyes until you get these like high-powered scans, and you could look. And said whenever they looked at my scans and they're saying I'm a 20/70, they said, this is starting to get us concerned about your ability to drive. So then you're like, oh no, how am I gonna have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old and not be able to drive them? How am I gonna drive to work? I would have to change a different job and walk to that job every day. You know, I don't know, like, it was just everything is running through your head. And then the doctor comes in, she looks at my scans and she says, you're telling me you can see something in your left eye? And I said, yeah, I can see. And she said that it is amazing. I was able to see anything in my left eye. She says the scar tissue is right on your pupil, on your left eye. She said, you shouldn't be able to see anything. So it's already amazing that I'm able to see anything. But of course I'm starting to get distraught. I then reach out to my community again and ask for prayer, because at this point they said, the doctor says it is not what they thought it was. It's not a hypnospot. It's not a myopic choroidal neovascularization. It's in both eyes. She says it is macular vitelliform adult onset dystrophy. She said that's what it should be. It's 99% sure that's what it should be. So what that means is you need to prepare yourself for imminent blindness. Like, and it's such a rapid rate right now, you need to be concerned that it's going to happen soon. She said we can get you in contact with a low vision specialist that will help you to be able to manage this level of blindness that you're going to be at. And, you know, of course, I'm just like starting to cry because it's absolutely awful, like what she's saying, because I'm so young and like, what are you gonna do? You know, if you're 30 years old and, well, 31, if you're 31 years old and you're like blind, you got 2 little girls, like what am I gonna, and I know some people are already blind and I don't know how you do it. I know maybe I'm just being selfish, that I was just so distraught that this was happening to me. And she just tries to get me into contact with these people. So then the next day I go back to my regular retinal specialist and we talk about it, and he disagrees with what he says. He thinks it's still like the Hiptoplasmosis, which is now what they're calling it. So it's like a fourth different diagnosis. And he says that we could get genetic testing to check to see if it's the vitelliform dystrophy, because the worst part about it all is if it's vitelliform dystrophy, then it's genetic and my kids have a good chance of getting it. And so that's just even worse. Like what? It's even the worst case scenario is that not only am I gonna go blind, my kids are gonna go blind. Because the first thing it says when you look it up and Google it is like family planning, which is just the way of saying you shouldn't have kids because you're gonna be giving them blindness. And so I'm just like distraught, so distraught. So we're getting like 12 months into my first initial diagnosis. So go get my genetic testing. They said it'll take at least 4 weeks. It ends up taking like 8 weeks to get it back. It has to be sent all the way to San Francisco, and then they'll bring it back. So at this point, the still treatment plan. And another thing the specialist said is that you've already had 10 injections. She said, you cannot continue to do injections in your eyes. She said it is causing so much damage to your eyes that you're almost doing more harm than good. So then you're also like, well, what do I do? And just kind of like expect, like we can keep doing injections, but just know that the injection plan of treatment, which is the only plan of treatment, is not going to work out long term. So I go back to my doctor and, you know, we go ahead and do the 11th injection in the left eye. And he said, you don't need it currently in the right eye, but he says, we're going to keep watching you every 3 weeks. So at that point, every 3 weeks, I'm coming in for a scan and I am given these 2 papers to test my vision. And if I notice any change, even in 1 day, I need to come immediately down there to get an injection in my eye. So it's so scary because any change would just mean another scar. And once a scar happens, it's like over. Right? So scary. I am just asking for prayer everywhere because I'm just losing my mind because it's just so awful. But I have so many great people around me. Thank you to my family and especially to my church. My church has been like my rock. And of course, thank you to Jesus for all this because I couldn't have done it without him. So then we get we keep do that for a couple of weeks, and like it never is really bad enough to have another injection, but we're just watching it for a few weeks. Then I get a letter from my insurance company telling me that they're no longer going to be providing me the medication for my injections, that I would have to go to a pharmacy, fill the prescription, and then I personally would have to take it with me to my doctor. And then by doing so, but my doctor is telling me that if I do that, there's a good chance I could get contaminated or something, and then you could end up having all kinds of problems where we couldn't use it. So it's just gonna be a really bad situation if I was gonna have to do that. So our last appointment was gonna be on New Year's Eve, because then if I needed to get an injection, I could still get an injection that day without dealing with the insurance having to go back and forth and get these medications and transport it in just my car. So we go on New Year's Eve, and a miracle from God has happened. So at this point, remember, I can only see 20/70 in both of my eyes. So I was really having trouble at work and everything like that, just being able to see. On New Year's Eve, I go in, I scan, and I am able to see 20/30. I take a scan of my eyes, and it's all, my scar is still there, of course, the scar is still there, but my scans look so much better. I mean, are they 100% like back to a normal eye? Absolutely not. But the scans are unbelievable. The vision is unbelievable. He looks in my eyes and he goes, I can't explain what has just happened. He goes, this does not happen. He said, you have a very rare condition. He said, this should be getting worse all the time, not getting better. And so he has no explanation for me. And I have the explanation, is that I have been healed by God, and by the grace of Jesus Christ, I have been healed. It is amazing. I am now able to see, and because of all that, we are now holding off on injections. unless I need it. Now there is a chance I could have a flare up. He said that those do, you know, come back. He said I can't explain what's happening, and it is possible for sure that I would have a flare up later. He says, but you've now, I guess he is contributing to that I've just had such a good reaction to the medication, that if I had a flare up, it should be able to hopefully stabilize as well. So what we're doing now is we are just checking me every 3 weeks, every 3 to 4 weeks. We're just doing a scan, and again, I just am supposed to watch my little charts, and if I see a change, that every 3 to 4 weeks I go in for a scan. I have now had 2 scans, I think 2 scans, and it has been just the same. I went up to 20/40 on my vision one time, and he said again that's kind of fluctuation. It could be on the day. He said that is nothing to concerned about at this point. So it is absolutely amazing that God has healed me. So I must shout it from the rooftops, because whenever you know, whenever he healed the blind, like when he healed the lame, they told everyone, and that's what I need to do. And so I do plan on telling anyone and everyone that I meet about my amazing miracle that I have experienced. God has blessed me so much in my life, and he is continuing to bless me now, and I have got to give him all the praise and the honor. So if you don't know Jesus, if you don't know that Jesus died on the cross for your sins, and that he is the Son of God, and that he rose again on the 3rd day, you are missing out on your way to heaven. He is the one way. He is the way, the truth, and the life. So you've got to come to know him so that you can be in heaven. He has saved us all. All we have to do is accept that he has. I know you've heard the story about Jesus. I know you're like, he's just some, you might be thinking that he's just some good man, or that's just some sort of old person thought, or that someone who's like uneducated. No, I am a very educated person, and I am 100% in, and it's Jesus. And Jesus has saved me not only from my sin, but now he saved me from my vision. He is the comforter. Like, he'll comfort you no matter what you're going through. He is, you know, he is my savior when it's good, when it's bad, and everywhere in between. It is all him, and everything I have and everything I do and everything is for him. And I want to live that out, and I am going to try my best to live that out and to not forget that this moment has happened in this blessing. And I have one more blessing that I want to share with you. So about a month ago, I got my genetic testing back. And it's not genetic. It's not the vitelliform adult onset dystrophy. It is the histoplasmosis. Well, it's not, I could just, so we're pretty sure it's histoplasmosis, which is just a rare condition that just happens here and there, just from people who live in this, in like east of the Mississippi. Just a rare condition that happens. So that my kids may or may not get it, just like you may or may not get it. But I'm just one of those rare people, about 3% of the population who get it. And I could get it in both eyes. I might not have it in one. It should continue getting worse, but it's not. But it is not genetic in any way, and it's not contagious anyway. It's not environmental. Well, it is actually environment. It is like sort of environmental, but there's nothing you can do to keep it from happening. But it just, most importantly, okay, scratch that. It is not genetic, and my kids will not have it. So it's just rare case that I only have, which is another huge blessing. So God just continues to pour out these blessings to me, and I am just so grateful, and I just thank him so much for it. I thank him for this opportunity to share it with you on this platform, my story. And I plan on telling anyone and everyone. So if you'd like to learn more about my condition, which I feel like I probably told every bit of it now at this point, or learn more about histoplasmosis, please comment down below or contact me at adventuresbykayla@gmail.com. I'd be glad to talk to you more. Or even more importantly, if you don't know Jesus as your Lord and Savior, and you'd like to learn more, or learn how you could learn more about him, or learn more about how you could become saved, I'd be so glad to talk to you. Or you always just reach out to your local pastor. There's churches on every corner, right? So just go into one and talk to somebody about Jesus, and I know they'd be glad to talk to you about Jesus. But I, of course, would be glad to talk to you about Jesus as well. So please email me at adventuresbykayla@gmail.com, and I'd be glad to talk to you about how you can be saved. So again, there's only 3 steps to to being saved. Admit that you have, do you remember ABC when you were a kid, maybe? So A, admit that you are a sinner, that you have come short, because everyone has come short, everyone has sinned, no matter what you've done. You could have just lied today, or you may have killed 20 people. Everyone, you may have lied today, or you may have done something even worse that I can't even imagine. But it's okay, because everybody sins and everybody messes up, and Jesus forgives us all. So it doesn't matter. He died for everybody on the cross, and so you don't have to worry anymore. All you have to do is accept that he did that. B, you gotta believe that Jesus died on the cross for our sins. He was the Son of God, and he rose again on the third day. And C, you just need to commit your life to God. So tell somebody, commit that you're going to change the person who you used to be and live your life for God and build a relationship. It is not about just knowing the story. It's about having a relationship with Jesus. And all you have to do is say, Jesus, save me. So Jesus, save me now. So thank you so much for watching my video today. I know this is a very heavy video, but it's something I needed to share and something I needed to tell the whole world. So thank you for watching. So super appreciate it. Please comment down below. Love to hear your comments. Thank you for watching. God bless. Be adventurous, and I'll see you next time. Bye.